What if the quietest person in the room is actually the most perceptive? What if the one who speaks the least understands the most? And what if your sensitivity, the very thing the world told you was a weakness, is actually your greatest strategic advantage? If you're an INFJ, or you've ever searched INFJ personality explained, INFJ strengths and weaknesses, or why are INFJs so rare? This is for you. Because today, we're exploring 12 things INFJs naturally excel at, not loud talents, not flashy skills, but deep, psychological strengths rooted in the INFJ mindset, emotional intelligence, and introverted intuition. Before we dive in, let's ground this in clarity. The INFJ personality type, often called the advocate in the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator Framework, is known as one of the rarest personality types. INFJ stands for introverted, intuitive, feeling, judging, but these four letters barely scratch the surface. INFJs lead with introverted intuition, NI, future-focused pattern recognition. They support it with extrovert feeling, FE, emotional awareness and relational harmony. This combination creates something powerful. A person who sees beneath the surface and cares deeply about what they see. Now let's explore where that naturally shines. 1. INFJs excel at protecting their peace, eventually. In early life, many INFJs overextend. They overgive. They overexplain. They overaccommodate. But once they learn the cost of burnout, they become masters of boundary setting. Not aggressively, quietly. They withdraw from draining dynamics. Stop arguing with the committedly misunderstanding. Limit access to their inner world. Prioritize mental health. This is where the famous INFJ door slam comes in. Not revenge. Resolution. They excel at knowing when something is no longer aligned. And when alignment is gone, they walk. 2. INFJs excel at seeing potential. INFJs often see who someone could become, sometimes before that person sees it themselves. This makes them natural encouragers. They nurture growth. They speak to possibility. But here's the evolution. Mature INFJs learn the difference between potential and reality. They learn that seeing someone's highest version doesn't mean that version is currently accessible. This discernment protects their energy and sharpens their relational judgment. 3. INFJs excel at independent thinking. Despite their empathy, INFJs are not easily swayed. They don't follow crowds for comfort. They don't adopt beliefs just to belong. Their introverted intuition creates internal frameworks that are deeply personal. They may appear agreeable, but internally, they are evaluating everything. This makes them thoughtful decision makers, principled leaders, independent strategists. They don't need to be loud to be strong. Their strength is internal alignment. 4. INFJs excel at turning pain into purpose. This is perhaps one of their greatest strengths. Pain doesn't just wound INFJs. It transforms them. They process deeply enough to extract insight. They ask, how can this help someone else? How can I prevent this pattern in the future? What truth did this reveal? This is why many INFJs become writers, therapists, coaches, visionaries, advocates. They transmute suffering into service. And that is powerful. 5. INFJs excel at emotional support. When someone is in pain, many people feel uncomfortable. They rush to fix it, offer solutions, change the subject, minimize the experience. INFJs do something different. They sit with it. They don't panic in the presence of emotion. They understand that sometimes healing isn't about advice. It's about being witnessed. This is one of the most refined INFJ strengths, emotional containment. They can hold space for someone else's feelings without absorbing them entirely, especially once they mature emotionally. They excel at holding emotional space without judgment, listening without interrupting, validating feelings without enabling harmful patterns, encouraging growth without pressuring timelines. They instinctively know when to speak, and when silence is more powerful. This is why INFJs are naturally drawn to roles involving counseling, mentoring, psychology, coaching, or personal development. They don't just hear problems. They feel the emotional layers beneath them. They can say things like, "That sounds heavier than you're letting on." I think this hurt you more than you expected. You're not wrong for feeling that. And those words land. Because they're accurate. Trust is built in these moments. Not through grand gestures, but through attunement, through presence, through depth. 6. INFJs excel at pattern recognition in people. This is one of the most underestimated INFJ abilities. They don't just observe behavior. They map patterns over time. They notice recurring emotional cycles, repeated relational dynamics, inconsistent character traits, long-term trajectory shifts, subtle changes in values or priorities. Because of their introverted intuition, INFJs connect behavioral dots across months, sometimes years. They may not say anything immediately, but internally, the pattern is forming. An INFJ may give multiple chances. They understand that people grow. They value nuance. But once a pattern is confirmed, they rarely ignore it again. This is why mature INFJs are extremely difficult to manipulate. Love bombing feels excessive. Gaslighting feels inconsistent. Charm feels rehearsed. Apologies feel hollow if behavior doesn't change. They've studied human behavior, not academically, but experientially. Through observation, through reflection, through lived experience. And once they see the pattern, they adjust accordingly. Sometimes that adjustment is subtle. Sometimes it's distance. Sometimes it's the infamous INFJ door slam. But it is rarely impulsive. It is informed. 7. INFJs excel at creative expression. The inner world of an INFJ is expansive, quiet on the outside, rich on the inside. Because they process emotions deeply and think abstractly, many INFJs channel their inner landscape into creative outlets. Writing, poetry, music, visual art, film, storytelling, visionary thinking. Their creativity often carries emotional truth. It's layered, symbolic, introspective. Even when they aren't professional artists, INFJs tend to think creatively about life itself. They imagine possibilities. They envision better systems. They design solutions rooted in empathy. And when they create, they don't do it for applause. They do it for meaning. They want to capture something real, something honest, something that makes someone else feel less alone. This is why INFJ created work often resonates quietly but deeply. It may not go viral immediately, but it lingers. Because authenticity is felt. And INFJs create from authenticity, not performance, not validation, but inner alignment. And that is a rare kind of excellence. 8. INFJs excel at reading between the lines. Most people listen to words. INFJs listen to what's beneath the words. This is one of the most powerful, and misunderstood, strengths of the INFJ personality type. While a conversation is happening on the surface, something else is happening underneath. Tone shifts, micro-expressions, slight pauses, changes in breathing, energy fluctuations, a forced smile, a delayed response. INFJs notice it all, not because they're trying to analyze, but because they naturally absorb emotional data. This is advanced emotional intelligence, often referred to in psychology as high empathic accuracy. The ability to accurately detect what someone is feeling, even when it's not explicitly stated. When someone says, "I'm fine," most people accept it. The INFJ pauses. Something feels off. The tone doesn't match the words. The eyes don't match the smile. The energy feels heavy. And softly, without accusation, they respond, "No, you're not." And suddenly, the other person exhales. Because they've been seen. This is why INFJs often finish people's sentences, not out of impatience, but because they've already mapped the emotional trajectory of the conversation. Their introverted intuition has connected the dots before the speaker reaches the conclusion. They aren't just hearing language. They're tracking emotional movement. This makes INFJs incredible friends who sense distress before it's spoken, insightful counselors who uncover what's buried, thoughtful leaders who detect morale shifts early, deep partners who sense emotional distance before conflict erupts. In INFJ relationships, this ability creates profound intimacy. People feel understood at a level they rarely experience elsewhere. But here's the nuance. INFJs must learn to balance this gift, because constantly reading between the lines can be exhausting. Mature INFJs learn when to engage this radar, and when to turn it down. But one thing remains true. While others may overlook the quiet signals, the INFJ rarely does. 9. INFJs excel at deep focus and long-term vision. In a world addicted to distraction, the INFJ mindset is remarkably concentrated. Introverted intuition, the dominant cognitive function of the INFJ personality type, is not scattered. It's focused. While others chase trends, react to social comparison, or pivot impulsively, INFJs are quietly asking, where is this going long-term? What pattern is forming? What does this trajectory lead to? What will this look like in 5 or 10 years? This future-oriented pattern recognition gives INFJs unusual strategic depth. They don't just respond to what's happening now. They anticipate what will happen next. In career development, this shows up as big-picture thinking, system-level insight, purpose-driven planning, meaning-oriented ambition. They may not be the loudest voice in the meeting, but when they speak, it often reframes the entire discussion, because they've already thought several layers ahead. This is why INFJs can sometimes feel impatient with shallow pursuits or short-term wins. Quick validation doesn't impress them. They're thinking in decades. They want sustainability, alignment, impact. While others chase visibility, INFJs build foundations. While others celebrate immediate results, INFJs design long-term architecture. This makes their decision-making unusually layered. They consider emotional consequences, ethical implications, future dynamics, hidden ripple effects. This depth sometimes slows them down, but it also prevents costly mistakes. And over time, this long-term orientation becomes a quiet advantage. Because slow, aligned growth almost always outlasts impulsive success. 10. INFJs excel at meaningful conversations. Small talk feels like static to an INFJ. It's not that they dislike people. It's that they crave depth. Ask an INFJ about the weather, and they'll respond politely. Ask them about what shaped you, what do you believe, what are you afraid of, what gives your life meaning, and suddenly, their energy shifts. They come alive. INFJs naturally steer conversations toward personal growth, values, life purpose, emotional experiences, philosophical questions. They are not interested in gossip. They are interested in understanding why people are the way they are, understanding how experiences shape identity, understanding what drives behavior beneath the surface. This is why conversations with INFJs often feel different, calmer, deeper, more intentional. And here's the fascinating part. They don't always talk the most, but people leave feeling profoundly heard, seen, validated, understood. In INFJ relationships, this depth is magnetic. They don't connect widely. They connect deeply. They may have a small circle, but within that circle, the emotional intimacy is rich. Because for INFJs, connection is not about frequency. It's about depth. And depth is rare. 11. INFJs excel at personal growth. If you search INFJ growth mindset or INFJ self-development, you'll find one consistent theme. They are constantly evolving. INFJs rarely repeat mistakes endlessly. After heartbreak, they reflect. After failure, they analyze. After disappointment, they recalibrate. They ask, what is this teaching me? What did I miss? What needs to change? This internal refinement process makes them emotionally resilient. They don't waste suffering. They convert it into wisdom. And wisdom compounds. 12. INFJs excel at quiet leadership. INFJs are rarely domineering leaders, but they are powerful ones. They lead through vision, integrity, emotional awareness, strategic foresight. People trust them because they sense authenticity. INFJs don't seek authority for control. They seek influence for impact. And when they step into leadership aligned with their values, they inspire transformation, not through fear, but through clarity. So here's the quiet truth about the INFJ personality type. They may not be the loudest. They may not be the most visible. They may not chase the spotlight, but beneath that calm exterior lies strategic foresight, emotional intelligence, creative depth, resilient growth, unshakable alignment. INFJs excel in ways that don't always trend, but they endure. And endurance, in a loud world, is rare. If you're an INFJ watching this, remember, your depth is not a flaw. Your sensitivity is not weakness. Your reflection is not overthinking. These are strengths. Quiet ones. Powerful ones. And the more you trust them, the more you realize you were never behind. You were becoming. If this resonated, take a moment, reflect, breathe, and honor the strengths you've been downplaying. Because the world doesn't always reward depth immediately, but depth outlasts noise.